Chapter 22. Along the Corridor. Well, 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 sighed Mr. Willy Wonka. 2 naughty little children gone. 3 good little children left. I think we better get out of this room quickly before we lose anyone else. But Mr. Wonka, said Charlie anxiously, will Violet ever be all right again, or will she always be a blueberry? They'll dejuice her in no time flat, declared Mr. Wonka. We'll roll her into the juicing machine, and she'll come out just as thin as a whistle. But will she be blue all over? Asked Charlie. Oh, she'll be purple, said Mr. Wonka, a fine rich purple from head to toe. But there you are. That's what comes from chewing disgusting gum all day. If you think gum is so disgusting, asked Mike TV, then why do you make it in your factory? I do wish you wouldn't mumble, said Mr. Wonka. I can't hear a word you're saying. Come on, off we go. Hurry up, follow me. We're going into the corridors again. And so saying, Mr. Wonka scuttled across the far end of the inventing room and went through the small secret door hidden behind a lot of pipes and stoves. The 3 remaining children, Veruca Salt, Mike TV, and Charlie Bucket, together with their 5 remaining grown-ups, followed after him. Charlie Bucket saw that they were now back in one of these long pink corridors with many other pink corridors leading out of it. Mr. Wonka was rushing along in the front, turning left and right and left, and Grandpa Joe was saying, "Keep a good hold of my hand, Charlie. That would be terrible to get lost in here." Mr. Wonka kept saying, "No time for any more messing about. We'll never get anywhere at the rate we've been going." And on he rushed down the endless pink corridors with his black top hat perched on top of his head and his plum-colored velvet coattails flying out behind him like a flag in the wind. They passed another door, then another and another. There were doors every 20 paces or so along the corridor, and they had all had something written on them, and strange clinking noises were coming from behind several of them, and delicious smells came wafting through the keyholes, and sometimes little jets of colored steam shot out from the cracks underneath. Grandpa Joe and Charlie were half running, half walking to keep up, but they were able to read what it said on a few of the doors as they hurried past. Eatable marshmallows pillows, it said on one. Lickable wallpapers, it said on the next. Snozberries? Asked Mike TV. Don't interrupt, said Mr. Wonka. The wallpaper has pictures of all these fruits printed on it, and when you lick a banana, it tastes of a banana. But what does a snozberry taste like? You're mumbling again, said Mr. Wonka. Speak louder next time. Off we go. Hot ice creams for cold days, said one door. Cows that give chocolate milk, it said on the next door. Fizzy lifting drink, it said on this door. Oh, those are fabulous, cried Mr. Wonka. They fill you up with bubbles, and the bubbles are kind of special little gas. And the gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you off the ground like a balloon, and up you go till your head's at the ceiling, and there you stay. Well, how do you come down, asked little Charlie. Well, you burp, of course, said Mr. Wonka. You give a loud, rude burp, and up goes the gas, and down you come. But don't drink it outdoors. There's no knowing how high you'll go up. I gave some to an old Oompa Loompa once in a backyard, and he disappeared out of sight. It was very sad. I never saw him again. He should have burped, said Charlie. Of course he should have burped, said Mr. Wonka. I stood there shouting, "Burp, you silly buddy, burp, or you'll never come down again." But he didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't. I don't know which. Maybe he was too polite. He must be on the moon by now. On the next door it said, "Square candies that look round." Wait, cried Mr. Wonka, skidding to a halt. Let's take a peek at my square candies that look round. Let's take a peek. I'm very proud of them. Chapter 23. Square candies that look round. Everybody stopped and crowded to the door. The top of the door was made of glass. Grandpa Joe lifted Charlie up so he could see a better view and looking in. Charlie saw a long table, and on the table there are rows and rows of small white sugar-shaped candies. The candies very much looked like square sugar lumps, except on the side of them had a funny little pink face painted on each side. At the end of the table, a number of Oompa Loompas were busily painting more faces on candies. There you are, cried Mr. Wonka, square candies that look round. They don't look that round to me, said Mike TV. They look square. They look completely square, said Veruca Salt. But they are square, said Mr. Wonka. I never said they weren't. But you said they were round, said Veruca. I never said anything of the sort. I said they looked round, said Mr. Wonka. But they don't look round, said Veruca. They look square. They look round, said Mr. Wonka. They most certainly do not look round, said Veruca. Veruca, darling, said Mrs. Salt, pay no attention to Mr. Wonka. He's lying to you. My dear old fish, said Mr. Wonka, go and boil your head. How dare you speak to me like that, said Veruca's mom. Oh, do shut up. Now, watch this, said Mr. Wonka. He took a key from his pocket and unlocked the door and flung it open. And suddenly, at the sound of the door, all the rows and rows of little candies looked round to see who was coming in. The tiny faces actually turned toward the door and stared at Mr. Wonka. There you are, he said. They're looking round. There's no argument about it. They are square candies that look round. By golly, he's right, said Grandpa Joe. Come on, said Mr. Wonka. On we go. We mustn't dawdle. Butterscotch and butter gin, it said on the next door they passed. Now that sounds a bit more interesting, said Mr. Salt. Glorious stuff, said Mr. Wonka. The Oompa Loompas all adore it. They will make it tiddly. Listen, you can hear them now, whooping it up. Shrieks of laughter and snatches of singing could be heard through the door. They're drinking butterscotch and soda, Mr. Wonka said. They like it best of all. Butter gin and tonic is very popular. Follow me, please. We really mustn't keep stopping like this. He turned left, he turned right. They came to a long flight of stairs. Mr. Wonka slid down the banister. The three children did the same. Mrs. Salt and Mrs. Teavee, the only women left in the party, were getting very out of breath. Mrs. Salt was a large creature with short legs, and she was blowing like a rhinoceros. This way, cried Mr. Wonka, turning left at the bottom of the stairs. Go slower, panted Mrs. Salt. Impossible, said Mr. Wonka. We should never get there in time if we did. Get where? Asked Veruca. Never you mind, said Mr. Wonka. Just you wait and see.